Good morning, everyone. Good morning in person, our first time in a while. Yay! And good morning virtually, and we ask you for your compassion and understanding and forgiveness as we navigate our ways through doing things in a new way. So I feel incredibly grateful and blessed that I get to see some of these beautiful faces I haven't seen in a while in person. You've all been in my heart in a very special way. I hope you know that. And I also trust that there is divine right action unfolding all the time. So the first thing that I want to do when I see someone I love is hug them. So more than anything, I just want to run out and look into your eyes and hug you. Does anybody else feel that way? Yeah, just about everybody, right? Or huggers. So what I would like for you to do is to just be open to the experience today to feel hugged by the ones you haven't seen in a while. And we'll do a little practice with that as well at home and right here. So the theme for April is stepping into the unknown. Isn't it great that with that theme we're stepping into a new way of being together again? And today we are experiencing spring. And many different religious traditions use this time to celebrate a time of renewal and rebirth. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit. So today we are being reborn, each of us. And talk about how spring is a time for our own rebirth, and it's why we're on a spiritual path, so that rebirth is not painful and difficult and challenges in traditional ways, but it is a feeling of freedom and elation. And we're going to explore this idea of how we can be more in awe when this rebirth is happening that may not feel so good, because it's the mystical aspect of being alive. So, I know you all know me, but those who don't, my name is Frankie Timmers, and I'm the Spiritual Director here at Center for Spiritual Living, and I'm so grateful that Gail Jones, who is a practitioner student, is here to offer some spiritual wisdom, and Michael Malik is here with this crazy new setup we have to make all this good stuff happen virtually. For those of you that are on Facebook Live or on YouTube, we're so glad you're here no matter when you're watching, whether it is right now live or later, because we do have rebroadcasts. So say hello to one another online, use the bubbles, make comments, ask questions, and I know that you already know that you can find us many places online, our website, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Meetup, Facebook. We have 2 pages, and I think that's about it. So let's begin with an opening treatment, which is our word for affirmative prayer. So I invite you to close your eyes, and if you wish, you can place your hands on your hearts. So right here, right now, as we open our hearts to the experience at hand, we welcome divine inspiration. We simply have to look at the opening of a daffodil bud or a tulip bud or the forsythia that's almost done blooming, or the beautiful magnolias and all the cherry and apple blossoms, to see what life has in store for us. It's that same activity that is happening in Mother Nature is happening in each and every one of us. And so today we place our attention not on what happened in the past, what maybe isn't working, but what's happening in the moment and what wants to be lived. And so we open our minds and our hearts to the healing at hand, because in our language, we call healing spirit revealing itself. And so we are grateful to be together, whether it is on the Ethernet or right here in person, to connect more deeply to the love, the life, and the laughter that is ever available to us. Trusting this then, we know that life is always a gift, and it is always good, and so it is. That was awesome to hear, so it is. That's like the best thing. So, I want to have you have an experience. Because as I mentioned before, the thing that we maybe have missed the most is seeing each other and being together. And hugging each other, because we are kind of a huggy group, right? And so we're going to do a guided visualization, meditation, because we know in our teaching, but we now know this scientifically, is that whether you imagine something or you actually are having the experience, the brain doesn't know the difference. And so I want you to be aware of that, because when I talk to people, when I counsel people, I hear a lot that people feel incredibly touch deprived, human connection deprived. I was at Trader Joe's yesterday, and I always make sure I make a comment to people serving me. And I said to this young man, when he looked at me, I said, "You have such beautiful eyes." And he said, "I do?" I said, "Nobody's told you that?" And I said, "Isn't it great that we can see each other's eyes better now that we wear masks? And that we can really take the time to look into the eyes of a cashier, somebody in service?" And his eyes were crystal clear blue. They were so beautiful, and so I noticed that more. I think I told a few of you, "Look at your beautiful eyes." Right? And so that's a wonderful way that we can connect instead of focusing on why we and how we cannot connect. So I want you to close your eyes and just take a few nice, slow, deep breaths, allowing yourself to become fully present in your physical body. And I want you to start by thinking of someone that you haven't been with in person for a while that you love. Maybe it's a family member, a friend. Maybe it's even someone that has passed, because we've all lost loved ones this last year. Maybe it's somebody right from this spiritual community, a spiritual sister or brother. And imagine that that person is walking into this room and sits right next to you. And you naturally, automatically take each other's hand. And you feel the warmth of their hand. Until you feel their heartbeat in your hand. Until your heart beats in the perfect rhythm. In your imagination, you open up your eyes, take off your mask, and turn your head so you can see each other's face. tears may flow. There is no language that can be spoken that can describe this experience, because it's the language of the heart. Remember to breathe deeply, because sometimes when we feel this much, we can hold our breath. And now both at the same time, you open your arms in your imagination and embrace one another. Heart to heart. And you fill up on the love, letting it seep into every nook and cranny of your being, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And see if there's anyone else that you could do this with in your imagination. Or take this practice with you and do it later when you feel lonely or when you miss someone. And so now slowly bring your attention back, remembering this experience, allowing it to live inside of you in a new way, knowing it can never leave. And see if there is a seed of renewal, rebirth, or regeneration planted now inside of you, ready to burst. So slowly and gently bring your attention back. When you're ready, open your eyes. And let us welcome our practitioner student, Gail Jones, to do a reading for us.
Good morning. Happy spring. It's beautiful, and I've never walked in this building without hugging everybody. So, this is very difficult, but thank you for the meditation, Reverend Frankie. I hug you all in my mind. And for those who are joining us online, happy holy season. We're going to remember it's been a while since we've actually been together, but I thought that this new season is a great time for Ernest Holmes to remind us of who we truly are and how each breath that we take is a hug and a prayer. And so this is Ernest Holmes. I am complete in eternal spirit. Cosmic light, everlasting good, eternal spirit, maker of all things and keeper of all life. You are all. Infinite presence within, in whom all live, joy supreme, flooding all with goodness. I adore you. Eternal peace, undisturbed and quiet. I feel your calm. Divine presence, which inhabits eternity and dwells within all creation, who lives through all things and in all people, hear my prayer. I would enter your gates with joy and live at peace in your house. I would find a resting place in you, and in your presence live. Make me to do your will, and from your wisdom teach me the ways of truth. Compel me to follow you, and let me know, and let me not pursue the paths of my own counsel. Eternal and blessed presence, illumine my mind and command my will, that my soul may be refreshed and that my life may be renewed. As deep cries unto deep, so my thought cries to you, and you answer. I am renewed and refreshed. My whole being responds to your love, and I am complete in you. All my ways are guarded and guided, and I shall live with you eternally. Lover of my soul and keeper of my spirit, none can separate us, for we are one. So shall your wisdom guide me, your presence dwell within me, your love keep me, and your light envelop me now and forevermore. I rest in you.
You don't need to know, because God knows. Right? So, there's a lot of holidays happening right now, besides the obvious ones, Passover, Easter. We just had Holy Week in the Judeo-Christian faith. But pretty soon, Ramadan is happening for all the Muslim people all over the planet. Buddha's birthday is coming up, which is it's a way the Buddhists celebrate renewal. Ramanavami is the holiday of a new beginning for all the Hindu people. And then there's Vaisakhi, which is the Sikh holiday of rebirth and renewal. All these different religious traditions knew what they were doing, and they chose this time as a time to celebrate rebirth, new beginnings, fresh new start. And so if you think about it, this is your time of new beginning. It's your time of rebirth. Something new is stirring inside of you and me that wants to be lived, that wants to be birthed, that wants to be given to the world. In March, we explored the theme of open to possibilities, and we experienced the process of visioning. If you're saying, what? Then just go onto YouTube, because every week we address one of the questions. And now we step into the unknown. I love that song by Daniel Nahmad, because it always reminds me that I don't need to know, because God in me knows. And if I'm paying attention and I'm listening, I will be guided. Carl Jung said, your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. And that whole awakening thing is just one big friggin' mystery. We don't always know the next moment, the next day, the next year, because we're not supposed to. We're supposed to know the now, who and what we are in this moment, and to be given what is ours to be given now in this moment. Probably one of the hardest things for us human beings to do, to be fully present in the moment, in our own divine nature. And so in April, stepping into the unknown is learning to be so present in the moment that we can hear what the next step is. I know for myself, this whole COVID time, going through my own challenges, the call constantly was, now. What is yours to see, know, be, do now? Not tomorrow, not next week, not next year. So all those people were saying, I can't wait for things to get back to normal. I would say, you don't want to go back to normal. It wasn't that good. Maybe for you, but not for all of us. And so even the word the new normal, like what the heck does that mean? It's the new now that I am called to listen to be informed by, and to serve. It's why we're on the spiritual path. We're on the spiritual path to learn to be in the present moment and to be so tuned into spirit that the present moment guides us from the inside out. It's how we awaken and not just dream. It's true all over the planet. The indigenous people since the beginning of time have been talking about a vision quest. Vision quests are my idea of hell. It's hard because you don't know what's going to happen, and the only thing that you're experiencing is your own mind, your own belief system, your own fears, until all that either dissolves or dies down, and then your true self makes itself known. Remember Joseph Campbell, who talked and taught and wrote endlessly and forever about the hero's journey, the heroine's journey. It's about that awakening that must happen for us as human incarnations. Remember the book by Scott Peck, probably one of the first spiritual books I ever read, The Road Less Traveled. The Upanishads, the sacred Hindu text, talks about the razor's edge. I know Somerset Maugham wrote a book about it, and there's even a movie. I was looking this up this week. I'm going to want to see it. But the razor's edge talks about how the true spiritual path of awakening is a narrow path. It's a challenging, demanding path. I don't want to scare you off, because I know there are many, many, many rewards and many gifts and blessings along the way. But it's a solitary path, because it's a unique path for each and every person on the planet. I can sit and talk with you, but your path is not going to be like mine, and mine is not going to be like yours. It's going to be different, and that means I have to be tuned in to what is my way and my path. And that can be lonely. The spiritual path, then, in the Upanishads, the razor's edge comparison, talks about the dance between the material experience and the spiritual experience. And that's an interesting dance, because the ego mind, the human mind, is in love with everything material and resists the spiritual, because to the ego mind, that's the unknown. Don't want that. So I don't know about you, but I haven't done a whole lot of shopping in the last year. And I realized how much I did, and I was not a big shopper. But occasionally I would like a new pair of shoes or a new dress. And then I realized during COVID that I don't need another dress, I don't need another piece of jewelry, I don't need another pair of shoes, I don't need another book, I don't need anything, just basically food. And even that, I was probably buying too much because I was often throwing stuff away. So I've learned a lot over this year, and I've given a lot away, and I have simplified my life. I decided to read all the books that were on my bookshelf that I hadn't read yet. Now, mind you, I still have about 40 wine boxes packed with books in the basement since I moved 6 years ago. But I have a small selection of books on my bookshelf. And so I read all the books I had not yet read, and that was a wonderful experience, and then gave many of them away. Not too many because I like to mark books a lot. But I went to Home Goods. Who loves Home Goods? Home Goods is goods you don't need. It's all stuff, you don't need. Right? Bed Bath & Beyond is like that too for me. So I went because I wanted to, I forgot where I was going for, but it had something to do with the center. I think it was a boot I had. It's because I thought that one was too small. I thought maybe I can get a bigger one. The small one's fine. So I'm walking around and I'm observing, right? I'm observing myself and other people buying stuff they don't need. And it was really interesting to go around the shelf and to notice myself being very tempted. Oh, that's cute. Oh, I could use that. Oh, I need that. Oh, that's on sale. I should get that. And I kept putting things back. And then I noticed something I've never noticed in any other store before, which was every aisle had an empty cart sitting there in case you had too much stuff to carry in your arms, which I did because I didn't walk in with a cart. I only needed one thing. I ended up with a cart. And I bought some good snacks. But it was interesting to watch that, right? To look at our culture and to think about the cultures that don't have Bed Bath & Beyond and Home Goods. And to look at all the things that we think we need, all the things we buy that we just don't need. And to notice what that is inside of us. That's the part of us that likes to be distracted from the spiritual and likes to be more in the material, because that's what it is. The more material stuff we have, the more distracted we are from our spiritual nature. Not good or bad. If you need to go shopping, go to Home Goods or Bed Bath & Beyond. They're fun. But just be aware of that. Just notice what replaces that for us. And so all of this is about the mystery of our awakening. And what is it that we are awakening to? We're awakening to our essential nature. We're awakening to the life of our spirit, our soul. We're awakening to love, with capital L, not so much conditional human love, but divine love. We're awakening to this idea of really trusting the universe with our very body, our very heart, our very soul, our very mind. And to notice what's in the way and wants to be released, resolved, or at least worked through. Really what we're doing is we're giving birth to our whole self. Our whole self didn't die, didn't disappear, didn't get knocked out of us. Our whole self just got hidden, got covered up, got a little lost, didn't get enough attention. So went kind of behind the veil. But so that's what we're here to give birth to. We're here to give birth to our whole self. And that's a very unique path for each and every one of us. It's a healing path. Because in our teaching we say healing isn't curing or fixing, but healing is the revelation, the revealing of our spiritual nature. It's a unique path because it means that we have to change. You and I have to change all the time. Again, not about judgment or criticism or right or wrong or good or bad, but you already know that. You know that there's at least one thing about you that needs to change. Whether it is forgiving someone, or being more kind and gentle with yourself, or trusting life more, or learning a new skill, or being less distracted by your smartphone, or whatever it may be, right? We know that. Because that's the metamorphosis that's happening out there right now to the caterpillars. Or maybe it's a little early. We're metamorphosing into our real, capital R, self, our whole self. That's what life is for. We're transforming. And so what is it that you need when you think about this? What is it that you need to surrender to this process of transformation? And you can shout it out. What do you think you need, particularly you? What do you need to trust this process of rebirth that's happening in you, that wants to happen? Courage, strength, belief, surrender, clarity. Yes, right? Courage, strength, clarity, belief. I think that there's not anyone on this planet that says, no, got enough of that. Right? There are three things that I think we need the most. And they are spiritual values, spiritual practices, and spiritual principles. Spiritual values, because they become our compass. If you are driving in New Jersey traffic, which is a weird example to use because I have not been stuck in traffic once since March last year, especially not on Route 18 by my home, which used to be horrendous if I would leave here after 3:30. Not once. I haven't been here every day, but not once. No matter what time I go home, doesn't matter. 3, 4, 5, 6, no traffic, right? But let's imagine that we're in traditional Jersey traffic before COVID hit, right? So if you have the spiritual value of patience, you get to practice that during rush hour traffic. So think of a place where you're struggling the most. That's where your spiritual value needs to come out the most. That can become a spiritual practice, right? So your spiritual values, or value then, is your guide. Whether it's love, or patience, or compassion, the places where you bitch or complain the most is where you are called to live your spiritual values the most. Spiritual practices. In our teaching, we talk about 5 of them, and most of you know them. Affirmations. What else? Spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer. Visioning. Meditation and visualization. The 5 spiritual practices we teach are spiritual mind treatment, prayer, meditation, visioning, visualization, and affirmation. That should pop out of your mouth like anything. And those are our practices. Those are what we use. Use the one you need the most. Affirmations, I rarely do them. I've never been into affirmations. A little bit here and there maybe, but spiritual mind treatment and meditations are my 2 top ones. Every single day, at least once. So visioning, visualization, visioning again. Look at YouTube. Last month, we talked about it every Sunday. There's a lot of places to find all this, right? Do your practices. The one that you have the biggest excuse about is the one you need the most. I can't meditate. That means you really need it. I don't know how to do treatment. Learn it. Really easy. Or work with a practitioner who will do it for you, right? Spiritual practices are the things that sustain you in your rebirth or birthing your whole self. Principles of the Science of Mind teaching, they're all over the place. Just grab any book by Ernest Holmes, he's written 100 of them, and open it to whatever page, and you will find a principle that can be your guide. It's the reason why we take classes, because the principles is about study and reading and learning and that hunger we have, right? And so That's why we have classes and workshops and all kinds of meetings. We're doing so many things right now. Just look online or sign up for our weekly blast, or actually read our weekly blast, because in it we have a new class that Reverend Jennifer is going to teach in 2 weeks called Spiritual Principles and Practices. Interesting title. We have a reading circle that happened last week. It was so fun. We're reading the book by Deepak Chopra called The Book of Secrets. We have an artsy, crafty thing that Kat, Fernando's husband, is doing, drawing mandalas. We have Michael teaching a workshop on the chakras. That's coming up soon. We have music. Rhonda is doing a fundraiser online with her beautiful music. So there's lots of things. There's so much. There is spiritual community, right? And now we're back being together in person. There's your tribe. What kind of tribes do you have? Anybody have a tribe that's a support tribe, a spiritual community that's not this one? Family? 12-step programs? Therapists? Group therapy? Coaches? Right? We all have some kind of tribe that we can create for ourselves so we don't feel so alone. And then there's the support of your spiritual community from any practitioner in any center for spiritual living. So here I'm going to say something, and some of you might come up to me and say, that wasn't the truth. Because you can't say always. I haven't always. Almost always. You will stumble or fall on your path. You're supposed to stumble or fall. It's in the stumble or fall that you wake up, or being made to wake up, to think about yourself in a different way. So let me admit to you that I stumble and fall at least twice a day. Whether I get judgy or bitchy with my beloved Norman, whether I judge someone in public, whether I discover a piece of self-hatred, self-limitation, lack of self-love, whether I feel fear or anxiety. It's kind of natural on this human journey, but it's important to pay attention, be awake to it, and know that you have tools. That this is spirit in you, growing you. It's a growing moment. You got this, is what we have to remember. You got this. Tell yourself, I tell myself, you got this, you got this. A victim says, things are happening to me. People are doing stuff to me. Which is a whole rabbit hole that creates more drama, more damage, more disease, more limitation than anything. The victor, or the flourisher, or the thriver, or the conscious person on the path says things happen for me. They happen for me, and they happen for my good. And by golly, I'm going to find out about that with this stumble or fall. It means that we're willing to use our life and everything in it without resistance, with breath, with a sense of victory, with a willingness to practice. But just notice when you slip into the victim mode, and if you're the one that says, oh, never me, then look for it in others. Because they're just a mirror for you. And notice how you feel when people complain, when they are limited or limiting, when they are judging and critical and angry and frustrated, with compassion. Because that cultivates compassion for ourselves, because there's only the one life. We're all mirrors for one another, right? So the invitation then is to practice, 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 no matter what. To practice no matter what. Maybe at first you want to whine and complain and cry and weep and worry and be anxious. Give yourself like an hour, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, but then be done with it and move into your practice, no matter what. Because The way we are invited to live with every breath and every heartbeat is with awe and with wonder and knowing that everything is sacred all the time. Because you are birthing your whole self. And that's magical. How many of you have experienced or attended a live birth of a person or an animal? If that did not change you, then I'm worried about you. I've experienced both. And sometimes when things get really bad, I think of those moments. And I remember that I and you are continuously birthing our whole self. And it's magical and mystical and sacred and something to be in awe about. Well, that song always does it for me. One Power by Daniel Maynard. So, I am so glad that we are here together today. I've loved doing the service every Sunday, no matter what, because that's kind of, I see beyond the camera, I see thousands of people. But to be here together today in person with all of you is just really such a blessing. And I thank you for your treatments, your support, your love, your willingness to continue to be part of this community, your faith. Because without that, this would not have happened. So I know that each of you have done your part. And the more we each do our part, the more that shows up in the world, right? So just a reminder that we are going to do some socializing outside in the parking lot. We're going to continue to socially distance. We invite you to keep your masks on at all times. I will put mine on in a minute. And to keep social distance, just to keep each other safe. And that you're welcome to pull out your little beach chairs or grab a chair and put it out there and sit with us for a bit. I'll grab my lunch shake and sit with you a bit. But I want you to also know that we have our Circle of Truth. Oh my goodness, that started at 11:15 on Zoom, so people might be waiting for that. Let's just do it in person. You know, the Circle of Truth is what we're doing is we're listening to you and asking what it is that you want healing around in a retreat for you. So you know what? Theo and I can do that in here for those of you that want to stay, and we'll just wing it. And whoever is waiting on Zoom will get it vibrational. All right, so now we're really blessed because in closing, we're going to have Gail do a closing treatment for us.
And so I invite you to close your eyes as we give thanks for this glorious day, recognizing that it is the goodness of the one power, the one presence, the creator of all life, that this blessed day, in all its magnificence, in all its springtime glory, is the invisible making itself visible to us. And we recognize that we are individual expressions of this one creative power, this one love, this eternal loving presence that is never, ever an absence, that lives in us, as us, and through us. And so we give thanks for this time, this season, because there is a time for everything under the sun. And it is how the Spirit expresses itself to us. We give thanks for this blessed service, for this blessed message, for Reverend Frankie. We give thanks for this time together as a community, for the sacred space, because wherever we are, we bring the Spirit with us. And so this space is always consecrated and dedicated to this community of love, of healing, of support, of joy, peace, harmony. And so I'm grateful for each one that is here. And we leave here remembering that love is the way and law is the how. And so it is.